Greetings, you've landed at the VUC, IP Communications and VoIP community. We would like to thank Simwood.com for their support. Simwood can turn you as a developer into a telco. Our hosted PBX is from OnSIP.com, and you can go to GetOnSIP.com for a URL people can click to call you. We've been privileged over the last 5 years to be using the best conference bridge on the planet. Yes, I'm talking about ZipDX.com, full color, full featured, full HD conference bridge. Our website, vuc.me on the webs, hosted by Bluehost.com. And our worldwide local rate dial-ins are from Voxbone.com. Cue live announcer. Hello, how are you, everybody? This is VUC 547, and thank you, Michael. Michael is going to move over to the events segment, and he's going to be showing us, yes, it's Astricon in October. Oops. Okay, let's put this on right. There we go. Astricon in October 13th to 15th in Orlando, Florida. It's in that big Universal complex. One of those things I wouldn't be caught dead in, but I'm sure you'll enjoy yourself with the whole family. Astricon is an amazing event, as you guys all know, guys and girls and ladies and women and anybody else who the Supreme Court has allowed to marry today. Next, we're going to be moving on to ClueCon. And ClueCon is August 3rd to 6th. And the reason we saved that for after the October event is because we have a special guest with us. And Randall is going to explain his connection with ClueCon and FreeSwitch because it's exciting, and we want to hear from him right now.
Hey, hi. Thanks for having me back. I just happen to be one of these Fridays when I'm not actually working or traveling or something like that. I'm actually physically at home, which is nice, here in Beaverton, Oregon. About to go drive up about 2 hours north to go attend my niece's wedding. But I'm dropping by because next week on Floss Weekly, my wonderful show that gets numerous downloads every week, and we're up to episode 343, so I'm definitely hanging in there. About 8 years now doing that show. We have a couple of guests from the FreeSwitch, representing FreeSwitch. We have Anthony, I'm going to mispronounce this, Minisali, and Michael Jarris. They're going to talk to us about FreeSwitch. So if you happen to be near your computer at 8 a.m. Wednesday morning, that'd be Pacific time, UTC -7 at the moment, you can watch us at live.twit.tv and bring in your comments and ask questions, which we will relay to the guests about FreeSwitch.
Excellent, Randall. Thank you. And I hope you'll stick around and learn a little bit about Wire, which is what we're going to be talking about today.
Awesome.
Randall's, there's a little story behind their page being removed from Wikipedia and very quickly restored. It was charged with not having enough notoriety, and it points out one of the weaknesses of Wikipedia. Yeah, I mean, that's why I mention it, is because Randall's show, Floss Weekly, is the place to go for open source and information on that. They've had a number of great people. Most everybody that we know has been on it, actually. This is not FreeSwitch's first time, I don't think, is it, Randall?
We had something that FreeSwitch was part of, the 2600 project, I think it was.
Right.
And I think that includes FreeSwitch as part of it or something. I forget all the relations. I have to go back and look at my notes. But somehow FreeSwitch as a standalone project is now going to be coming on the show. And
I know you've had people from Digium who are responsible for Asterisk.
A couple times.
You've had probably anybody who's anybody in the FreeSwitch movement has been on, right?
Yeah. It's been really fun. You know, over the 8 years, I've been crowdsourcing for the last 7 years the guests that are coming on, which has worked really well because, you know, I know a bunch of things that are happening in open source, but I don't know everything that's happening in open source. And people have been bringing some really, really awesome guests to me. I mean, especially recently, like in the Bitcoin arena, which is really nice. We just had Augur on a couple days ago, and that's a way of doing crowdsourced, verifiable prediction markets. And so very exciting, they're coming online. So be able to essentially do future Google. So you'll be able to say, you know, will Hillary win the election? And have a bunch of people vote on it. They're actually betting with their real money. So of course, only people who have some advice to give will be in the bets. And verifying that Hillary actually won is also done with crowdsourcing. So through the power of the sidechain and I don't understand the whole thing, but Bitcoin and stuff, we're actually going to be able to predict the future. Really amazing.
You've had probably most any OS project that's been open source that's been available.
Yep.
On too. I know you had all kinds of database. You have several. What I noticed is that you're not on every time because you're jumping around a lot. So you've got several colleagues that are helping you out. They're co-presenters that are helping you out. You want to name a couple of them?
Yeah. So Aaron Newcomb's been doing that for the longest, and he's typically my go-to guy when I want to actually, skip out on a show. We've also got Simon Phipps, a very famous guy who used to work for before Oracle. Sun. He used to work for Sun as their open source advocate and very powerful at that. We've got fairly new to the team is Guillermo Amaral. He's a maker and lives in Tijuana, Mexico, and I met him actually at Scale a couple years ago, and so we've been friends since then. I've got I'm going to leave somebody out now. Watch this. It's going to be bad. Zonker, Joe Brockmeyer, who is occasionally on as my co-host. Yeah, so we've got this rotating panel of co-hosts. I'm sorry for anybody who didn't name just now, but it's my brain. It's too early in the morning still.
In the day, you have Jono on once in a while, too.
Jono is, unfortunately, the timing is now such that he's pretty much unable to come in. It's right across from one of his things he has to do for the Ubuntu community. But we've also moved now. We're at 8 a.m. Pacific, which makes us the absolute earliest show on the Twit network. So it's nice because it doesn't break up my day most of the time. I usually get over with it by 9:30 and get over whatever my primary client is. So, but there's no other show that's before 10 a.m. on the Twit network. So,
and that's nicer for us here in Europe. We do it at 9 a.m. because it's 9 a.m. is the time where you can reach the widest geographical area. So depending on who you're actually trying to talk to, what we do typically is we, jerk people out of their beds at 9 a.m. out in Silicon Valley or California with our guests.
Right.
But the rest of the world, even starting in Mountain or Standard Central Time, you're starting to get to people who are at work in the Eastern Time zone. It's lunchtime almost, and then over here, it's right now it's 8 minutes after 6 p.m. here.
Yeah, good timing for that. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. So we generally, while you're having coffee, we're having beer or something synonymous to beer. Anyway, let's move on. And Randall, you're welcome to stay as long as you want, and maybe you'll have some questions about Wire. Wire is not open source. And look at this. There's Tony's coming in.
I may cut out pretty early because I got some driving to do today. So anyway, but at least I got to drop in and say hi, and so it's good seeing you again.
Here's your guest. Hey, Tony, how you doing?
Pretty good. What's going on?
You know Randall?
Hi. Hey.
Yeah, we've talked on email so far. I haven't seen you until now.
All right, this is your audition.
I heard a bell ringing in my ears, so I was trying to figure out what's going on. So I heard my name.
I'll be seeing you next week then on my show.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Very cool. Oh, we got a nice, what is that, Dan bedroom? What is that? Where are you at?
It's my office.
Wow, that's a cool office. I wish I had an office like that.
Yeah, it's been my whole life here, so it has to be cool.
Yeah, anyway, here's Brian.
Okay, guys.
All right.
See you next Wednesday.
Andy Smith, are you going to help us out by getting started on Wire, and we'll do a demo here?
Yeah, well, I can certainly try. I don't think I'm the right person to introduce Wire. It's so much of a shame that we don't actually have anyone from the company here. But,
and James was also going to say something, but
he was, and he seems to have dropped off, which kind of leaves us to me, and we're getting slowly invaded by the free switch guys.
Yeah, I know we are. Well, I probably invited him. It's probably my fault.
There you go. Okay, Wire. Wire is the latest attempt by the guys who founded Skype. So Nicholas Zenstrom is involved, and Alan Duric is involved as well, to recreate that experience, but primarily from a mobile perspective this time. And so what they have at the moment is messaging. They have a couple of little noddy apps. You can draw things with your finger and send pictures to people. And you can send pictures and videos, embed them in messaging. So it's another instant messaging client. But this one is more WebRTC based, so it hasn't got video at the moment, but the audio is exceptionally good, and it is, of course, Opus based. So I believe the messaging actually goes through a central server, but Clearly, the WebRTC calls do not. They go peer-to-peer. We've seen it and been using it for some while, and between us, I think we probably all quite like it. It's a very clean interface. It's somewhat confusing the first time you use it because there's nothing there, or there appears to be nothing there. But all the controls are there. It's just a case of knowing how to find them. So there's a learning experience for part of it. But once you've got there, it's good. It's reliable. Doesn't drain much battery on anything, and seems to work pretty well.
We can demo it because I've got my screen share on, and now I've given myself the focus. So James isn't with us, but as you can see, I'm if I go on my phone and draw something, it should refresh any time now. Hello. Anyway, type something in, Andy, and see. Funny because I typed something. I did a little action here and see what happens. Well, that's funny. Oh, maybe I didn't. Well, yeah, I see my drawing here.
The VUC, if that was your drawing, it's certainly there.
Am I in the right place here? Well, no, it's a VUC, but also I'm going to draw a yellow question mark. And there, according to this, it's there. Oh, that's funny. It's not showing up on. Anyway, well, that's a dangerous demo. What can I tell you? So what we're seeing and what I'm showing on the screen here is that, and then let me. I can't. There we go. All right. You can archive. You see the names on the left there. The way Google Screen Share works actually is a little strange. You can see Chaos Corner is the room that we're in now. Then there's the names of some of the people who are in the room. Here goes. Okay, Michael has sent that graphic of the microphone level.
Yeah, so you can embed graphics in there. You can draw your own graphics and put it in there. We can message people. We can clearly have multiple occupancy rooms where people can chat together, and you can also have one-to-one conversations, of course. And indeed, because of the nature of the beast, the voice calling is on a one-to-one basis only at the moment.
What I can't remember is all the little bots, because there was the Jiffy bot and there were a few other bots that were kind of Slack-like in their behavior.
Or is there?
No, there were a few. There were.
How do you do the GIF or the GIF?
It's Giphy.com.
No,
yeah, Giphy.com is the underlying mechanism, but you ask it for something.
I don't know how to do that.
All right. Anyway, the other way to do it is to institute a call. Let's see how that works. That's funny. My screen isn't not updating for some reason. There we see something, but I can't see what it is because I'm looking at the. Oh wait a minute. There's a way to make the film strip disappear. Is there not?
You have to add a bot to a room, so that's why we can't do it. You have to add the bot to the room for it to work.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Well, I was going to show about calling, but when I click on the call, I don't see that coming up either. It's on a level that the graphic isn't. The capture isn't seen. So this is certainly not the greatest demo in the world. But, repeating, had we had somebody from Wire, we might have been able to get this to happen. I can't call myself either for obvious reasons, but it's for what it is, it's a great product because it does do what you want to do as far as IM. It's fully encrypted. One of their sales points is that they're out of Switzerland. They're not US-centric, and they are full encrypted. Of course, anything that says they're full encrypted, I'm not really that sure because I could say I'm full encrypted, and who knows? Hangouts are encrypted, are they not? Everything's encrypted. Or is it? Right? Okay, I'm going to terminate this because I don't see that working out. Let me see if I do it this way, if it gets better. Let's see. Oops, no. Clear the effects. Yeah, that already looks Desktop. Other main screen. We're going to pull this up to put it on this window. There we go. Okay. Select capture.
And really, the major thing about Wire, twofold in my experience. One is the user interface is really splendid. It may be a little counterintuitive in some of its finer points, but the core of the user interface is, it really does highlight the fact that these guys have done this before. They know what they're doing.
Right.
And it's not absolutely consistent, but reasonably consistent across the Android, iOS apps, and even into the web app, although the web app lags a little bit in what it can do.
Here's, by the way, I'm sharing a screen through CamTwist, and it does catch the level that the graphic, that the pop-up window is on. So you can see that I'm, oh, there's your email address too, that I was sharing. So that's how you start a call. Okay, anyway.
And the one you're seeing in my case is actually an Android phone.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which it's a Nexus 4 with the app running on it. The one thing that's kind of missing, just from my point of view, is there is no Android app for tablets. So Wire will install on a cell phone, but it won't install on an Android tablet, which is a little. I just thought that was a little obtuse, but there has to be a reason.
Actually, having said that, I haven't tried it on an iPad either. I don't know whether James has at all. Or whether
I have it on an iPad. It runs on my iPad 3 just fine.
Is this do iOS apps scale, or are they? There's always two separate versions, or what?
I don't know.
Right?
There are quite often two versions, but a lot of iOS, apps written for iPhone will not rotate if you've put them on an iPad for some reason. I don't know why, but they won't. They stay in portrait mode, and that's your lot. Whereas the iPad versions always do. They always give you both landscape and portrait.
At any rate, we should say, for completeness' sake, that you can find out more at wire.com. So, nice URL.
And one of the more interesting things to try is actually to try a voice call with it, because that's one of the more recent things that they've done, and it works really well, and it does make best use of Opus as far as I can tell. I had a voice call between my 1+1 running Wire and Jim Courtney of Voice on the Web fame about 2 weeks ago. We talked for about an hour over Wire, and it truly was an excellent audio experience.
Okay, I was just looking to figure out why my watch wasn't charging in the meantime. I was going to, let's see, you pinged me on the phone. I actually could place a call on the phone. I could call your phone, I guess, right?
Not this one, you can't, because this one's only on Wi-Fi.
Well, I mean, it could. We could just make the call. We don't have to actually.
Oh, over Wire. Yeah, we could do. I don't think I'll be able to bring audio in, but
No,
yeah, it would show up.
Just try it. Although, when I click on you on the Android, it doesn't. I guess you don't do it that way.
I'm probably logged in several ways. I have a tablet logged in, I have the web login, and I have other things. I probably should bail on this. And it seems to be resilient with respect to multiple parallel devices. Logins work just fine.
Mm-hmm. They do. Any questions about Wire or any comments at all?
Ken wanted to know what we're talking about. So,
well, Wire's it's one of those things. If you try to do a search on Wire, obviously.
Yeah, the app is called Wire, and it is on iOS and Android. It's the Play Store, isn't it? So it's in the App Store for iOS, and it's in Play Store for.
But there is a Mac OS X app, and there's also a web app. So if you go to app.wire.com, I think.
In reality, they opened into private beta, right, just at the beginning of the year. And so it's kind of old hat to some of us who've been involved in the private beta for a long time, but they've only been sort of available to public for, 12 weeks or something like that?
Yeah, not too long. But I think if you just go to app.wire.com, it should challenge for credentials, and if you don't have a thing, it should propose. Let's see if I go to. I do that in incognito mode.
I thought from the launch of the web app, they no longer required an invite.
No, but what they're going to require, let's see what happens. I go there, and it looks for a login, but you can create an account. Okay, so there's a create account button. In fact, let me go back to the Hangout and show that, because it's easy to show. And here it is. This is what happens when you go to app.wire.com. Okay, so you see talk, message, share, private or with the groups, great conversations, your name, your email, your password, create account, or the sign-in button up here. Okay, so there is that. So that would be the way to get an intro, because you can do that on anything, including Linux.
Well, that's interesting. Never seen that before. They have the ability to capture grab the camera and capture a...
Yeah, there's a shutter symbol, right? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
That works well. We're pretty pleased with it, actually, and they seem to be adding various features. So if there are bots, I didn't realize that they were adding some kind of an extension that you could add bots. I know that I've seen the Giphy thing, which...
Yeah, it's a Giphy thing. It's a bot that you can add, and it looks for a particular text string in any post and reacts to it. I've seen people using Slack use this, where they, you can ask Slack when you run a certain bot on a channel, you can ask it to, give me an animated birthday cake, and it gives you an animated GIF of a birthday cake.
Well, it also, I mean, in the case of Slack, there's a lot of things it can do, including detecting any word and then having some random action on that word. Ah, okay. Andy, I don't know what that means, but there it is. Well, here we are, left to our own devices. We're ready to switch topics if we want.
And let this sort of random activity be a lesson to them. Come on along and represent yourself. You'll do a better job than we do.
Yeah, that's for sure. Because we probably forgot half of the things, and we have no idea what the roadmap is or what they're intending to do in the future. I don't really know who they're aiming at. As
the persistent group chat is really very good, and it's Skype-like.
It's so persistent you can't delete or correct anything.
It does differ from Skype in one particular detail, and that is that the history of the chats are available to anyone new who joins the room, which is not true on Skype.
And be aware of, it may or may not be a good thing. In other words, if you're having this long discussion, which we have a large group on telephony, for example, and there's a long discussion, and suppose you're saying, yeah, Cisco, ha, 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 and then somebody invites somebody in who's like the CEO of Cisco. If they bother to go all the way back, they're going to see whatever got said, and you cannot delete or alter what you've said. I'm going to guess that you can't edit. Maybe you never will be able to edit. Because maybe
actually, edit's on the wish list, and they've been pretty good about responding to wish list items. Edit has been, it's been said that it's in queue.
When you're the king of typos like me, you really need edit.
Well, or if you're using
edit, delete would be part of edit.
Or if you're using voice, transcription on your Android device, and it does goofy things.
There is that. Also. There's no search, right? What do you Control F? Is that it, or is there even that?
I have never been able to control my Fs. They just appear out of the blue.
Okay, wait a minute. There's a sound for that. Is there a search on the web? Like what I meant was that on a web app you can do Control F. I don't think Control F does anything. Or does it? Oh no, Control F brought up. That's interesting. Brought up the file. And you can only upload graphics. Apparently, you can't. It's not like any file.
Actually, it does YouTube videos as well.
Well, that's a good point. We didn't mention that in our.
There are some other interesting little effects that it does as well. Whoever last you have your normal profile picture, but in this case, like the last person to make any comment on my wire thing was Michael, so I have a picture of Michael holding onto a very large pumpkin here.
Yeah, it basically
in
uses
front
your
of me.
profile picture. It underlays your profile picture into whatever activity you did.
Yeah, and I'll show that right here. So this is, you can see on the left, there's a big hello, and on the right, I mean, hello, and on the left you see Michael with his pumpkin, and then the names of the people and the name of that. Screenshot off. Oops.
There are lots of things about wire which are just quite nice. They're very well thought through, and all in all, a very well put together app. But whether we can talk about it without anybody else for the next half an hour or so, I wouldn't have thought so.
No.
No, let's move on. Let's go to other things. There are many other things.
Talk about Ken's haircut.
No, actually, we have some real news. And while Randall alluded to in the pre-call that he's going to have the folks from And Yet on PLOS Weekly in the coming weeks. That's nice. That's great. They were illuminating to talk to. Great guys, especially. Well, we had them just a few weeks ago, but they did a blog post earlier this week that was really telling, and basically they've done some testing and they have found the first signs of WebRTC implementation in Microsoft's Edge browser.
Mm-hmm.
Edge is now responding to get user media, which means progress on an previously sort of unknown front for the WebRTC battle.
Yeah, the St. Peter's going to be at ClueCon. We're having a WebRTC ORTC roundtable on Tuesday.
I was trying not to call him that. I was trying to be more respectful, but yeah.
That's what I've always called him. So
What everybody called.
But yeah, we want to get everybody involved in the roundtable. It's going to be we've added extra time at the end because I feel it's going to go over our allotted time.
Sure. If you're developing using WebRTC and you've been working primarily in Chrome and Firefox, the signs of light at the end of the tunnel that is Microsoft, certainly a welcome thing, even if it is sort of early days yet. But that's a good sign.
That's good.
We could.
We could also talk about the other thing that's going to be important to a lot of people coming up here, and that's have you guys noticed the amount of IP space that Aaron has left?
Nada.
The exhaustion is going to happen either today or next week sometime at this point. So
they're done.
Yeah,
rumor has it they have more requests than they have IPs.
Yeah, we're going to be having an IPv6 roundtable on Monday during the developers conference, or the Coder Games at ClueCon in August. So
and IPv6. I'm just thinking. Almost everything I've got can do IPv6, even if I haven't configured for its use yet. But hardware endpoints. How about all that Polycom hardware behind you? IPv6 capable?
I'm going to guess a lot of it is not. I've not seen anything but a SNOM that is capable, and they've been capable for quite some time. I did notice Bria 4 on my Mac was using v6, and I didn't tell it to. It just magically started doing it, and that was against FreeSwitch. We added support for v6 with WebRTC and Modverto, so we can do v6. We've had v6 on SIP for quite some time. I'd have to say at least 7 or 8 years now. It's been very early when we did that. So we're prepared when the v4 exhaustion takes place.
Now, device support for IPv6 isn't necessarily absolutely required because some people will be NATed or they'll be using tunnels or their router will be handling it, right? So if you're still hiding behind a NAT, there may be ways to make it work, but
yeah, there's actually still ways to make it work with what's called 6-to-4. So there's reserved blocks on in v6 to allow you to use native v4 addressing, but you still need some kind of NAT-ish gateway to make that function properly, and you can always NAT and tunnel out that way. And I'm sure what we'll probably see, and we've already seen, the technology out there to take a V4 client and NAT them onto a V6 network effectively.
And there's the reverse of that. V6 only networks doing something the reverse of that to be able to access V4.
I learned something not that long ago, and that is that my Comcast connection, which used to be fixed IP but is not any longer, my choice, not theirs. If you have fixed IP with Comcast Business Class, you will get an IPv4 address. That's just the way they work. But if you're not fixed IP, then chances are you're going to get an IPv6 address. And so you have to be careful about that, because sometimes if your network's not, you can set your network up in a certain way and find that you lose connectivity, even though you have connectivity.
That's starting to be a lot less now, as the adoption rates are increasing, and I honestly suspect that Aaron has hastened the exhaustion by fulfilling the request quicker to deplete the pool faster to make the V6 adoption rates increase.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised on that one.
Because it accelerated in the last month to the point where it was just breakneck speed. I've been keeping an eye on it, and there's a guy on Reddit that posts about it. So, he posts the depletion and when they get rid of certain blocks, and he's been keeping a record of it. So it's been interesting to watch. We also have Bill Sandiford from Aaron coming to ClueCon to discuss the V6 debacle and talk about moving forward, how to approach it. We got a couple other people I'm working on as well that are going to be on that roundtable. And Bill's helping me collect up a few more people as well, because it's going to be more important here that people are V6 ready than ever before.
That'll be yet another thing that people will try to glom into SBCs. It'll be moving between IP realms.
So this is. Have you been keeping track of the ORTC stuff, Michael?
Yes. Well, I'm not a coder, so I don't follow it, at its most basic level. But yes, I've been watching it for signs of life, and it seems to be doing well. Fill us in, though.
What's your thoughts? We just joined the working group, and we did a ClueCon Weekly with Rob and Raymond from the ORTC project. It's on our YouTube channel, FreeSwitch. If anybody wants to go watch it, it's a very good presentation about where they're at, where they're headed. Definitely check it out for everybody that's going to watch this later. So we're just so new at it. I don't have a lot in it right now. I'm getting ready for ClueCon, so my focus and attention has been that. Very little on ORTC, but getting the round table, set up. And Tim Panton's coming as well to the round table.
That in itself would be interested.
Did Tim ever get you anything about his presentation? He had promised last week that he was going to fill you in about what it is.
Yeah, I've reached out to Tim, so we will see what he gets back to me. I know he had a car issue happening. I know I've been watching him on Facebook. His car died, so that was kind of all happening in the middle of all of that. So I haven't been as aggressive as following up with him since he's been trying to decide what to do in that.
Yeah, any further references to Yopet should be ignored, okay? I could not get my two Labradors interested in Yopet. They're just, the circumstance wasn't right.
No, I think for ClueCon we really should be borrowing a parrot or two and having a parrot or two in the room. Let's let him demonstrate it properly.
Yeah. Actually, returning to ORTC, I actually am pretty hopeful that that's going to bring a whole new class of people into the WebRTC conversation. And the reason I say that is, right now, and this is just one guy's opinion, but right now it seems to me that WebRTC is it's supposed to be for everybody, but it's really not serving everybody. It's best serving people who have telecoms experience. And the web dev community are kind of slow on the uptake, and I'm hopeful that there's a large group of people who are Microsoft developers in particular who will be sort of more able to deal with the ORTC reality than some of the other underpinnings that are presently there. So I think it's a good thing, and I'm hopeful that it looks like it's not going to be conflictual. It looks like it's all going to be WebRTC, whether it's 1.5 or 2.0, who knows.
Yeah, we learned there's kind of a myth there when we first started. When we didn't talk to them yet, we were thinking, oh god, we just finished implementing this, and they're changing it again already, or Microsoft changing the standard again as usual. But really, all they're doing is breaking it into smaller pieces, and the top is still the same. If they do it right, anyone's existing apps wouldn't even know the difference. The problem is that the libraries in Chrome are so specific to what they used to do. They kind of ported their Jingle stuff over to the WebRTC stuff, and when they open sourced it all, kind of a big bundle, it was all kind of glued together. And ORTC is just trying to break the process into smaller pieces, so they can build it back up as a more compartmental implementation.
I mean,
so
it's going to be more granular in much the same way that a lot of the Windows fundamentals are, and I hope that brings a larger group to the table. I mean, is it more appealing to you, you think? You guys are coders.
Yeah, because I can see how now you can, like, people are being left out of this are, say, mobile apps, any other application. Like the WebRTC media connection the web isn't actually an important part of it. It's just a collection. It's an RTP profile with a bunch of security layers and some NAT tricks and whatnot. Like, they're useful in any application, not just on a web page. So it's going to actually allow you to see iOS apps and stuff that can just do the WebRTC media natively. So, like, when we wanted to do WebRTC, we had to invent our own engine. Take our RTP stack and add all the functionality to it. And it does kind of segue over to SIP still, because we're already doing SDP stuff. But in ORTC, we're actually going to even peel back the SDP stuff and go down to the actual nitty-gritty layers of implementing each different thing, and then they'll build back the what we used to have, or what's there now, as a wrapper basically around it. So you'll still get what you had before, but rather than having, like, right now there's really only a handful of functions that you use. You'll actually have, like, the full range. You'll have more stuff exposed even in JavaScript, and if you want to, you can go into, like, C or C++ code and get, like, individual pieces of it and integrate it into your app easier.
So, is Apple actually involved in this at all, or is this just is it Microsoft and Google, or is it Apple as well? And who else is on this steering committee?
I don't know about anybody with Apple. I know there's Microsoft people, and we're in the working group. There's the mailing list and WC3 kind of working group for it. We have, if you remember, Eric Lagerwey, who used to be the CEO of Counterpath in the old days.
Yeah, the Hook Flash guys, Robin and Eric.
They're heavily involved in it, and it's just kind of like you can go over there enjoying it like any other project and start getting updates on it, and they're having discussions about the different challenges of how to negotiate and things with stun, and trying to make because I totally agree with this too. The stun engine in the way that they do ICE right now is a little too aimed at one particular problem, to the point where it's actually kind of overkill. Like, I think some stuff I think there's security issues because you're sending an SDP that has every one of your network interfaces in it without having any permissions. They don't ask you about that. They say, can I share your microphone and camera? They don't say, can I tell your entire network topology to the other guy when I send you a call? Because they do now. They'll find every interface automatically, and they'll just try it, and they'll put it in the SDP. So then if you get that SDP on the other side, you've now seen, like, every network interface on your machine. Let's say you're on a LAN and a VPN and a bunch of other stuff. Like, security, people have been able to get more out of you with even less information. So
yeah, you have somewhat a way of fingerprinting the machine, which then turns around, and one of their initial objections to application or JavaScript layer access to audio devices, like the playback device selection, all of that was avoiding a way of fingerprinting the machine. But happily, it seems that just in the past week they're getting pretty close to Google's Chrome implementation being able to support playback to audio device selection at the
Yes,
JavaScript
we're going
application
to try
layer.
and implement that because we've got everything you can do. We've done so far with the device enumeration. We can pick the camera and the mic, and picking the playback devices. I think there's an experimental mode you can turn on. I'm hoping they just added it to the same place.
Actually, right
right
now, looking at the mailing list just the past couple of days, right now it's hidden by a command line flag in the start of the application, but they were going to put it into the settings as well.
Yeah, they like to do that. It's kind of like little secret Easter eggs. We unlocked VP9 so we could get that working too. We were waiting for that to actually make prime time.
The thing that makes that particularly interesting is the ability to have multiple WebRTC sessions where they're directed at different audio devices. And for those of us who are in the habit of connecting disparate services at the end points, this is really useful.
Yeah, it is. And I even use it now when I'm limited to the same one a lot. Like if I'm doing work, I'm developing something, I'll be calling my test application in one browser window and like talking to my team in the other. And it kind of just overlaps right now, but it'll be even better if I could separate it into two different devices.
And we actually have a WebRTC-based phone that we use at ZipDX. It's primarily used when we're doing multilingual calls. Because it's essentially a mutation of our SIP client that controls the flow between audio channels in multiple languages. But it's more complicated than our old SIP client because you haven't got audio device control consolidated in one place. You have to go to the OS settings to pick, I want playback on my headset. And then in the application, we can say you use this microphone. We're looking to bring it all together into one place so that non-technical people can have a very straightforward.
It's definitely a barrier to getting someone to use it because it's like the way it is now, like you said, you have to go into your control panel and make your default device the one you want the browser to use. Other than they had some crude controls that they added about 6 months ago where you can at least click on the little, like you have to try making a call first before it'll appear though. Then you'll see like a little camera and you can press it and like pick some of the devices there. But even better to let the application do it so that you can actually make it foolproof, because otherwise people will fumble around with it and never use it and think it's dumb and then forget about it.
And this idea that you've created a connection but it's grabbed the wrong microphone, and so you have to refresh your browser to change the media devices, which means sort of hanging up the connection and renewing it. This is an impediment to non-technical users. So yeah, doing it all in the application level is going to be so much better.
And if they're working on that, it's a good sign they must be nearing the end of other important things, because I know that it felt like they're saving that for last. Because there's been a lot of, like, devices have been the bane of our existence trying to do development. Like, we've got, like, worn out our USB ports, plugging our camera in and out because it gets stuck, or, like, trying to make a bunch of calls and developing stuff, and we'll come in the morning and our audio devices don't work. And so I think there's some bugs open in Chrome about improving that, so hopefully they're going to get to that part now. Because I think that's where, if you take a complete newcomer who does nothing but normally just use a browser for looking at stuff and you try and get them into a RTC call for the first time, it's still not perfectly seamless. Like, we get spoiled right away because we learned how to do it. We know, put your headset on and make sure your device is set before you even try calling and stuff, but other people don't. And you have to get their attention, like, from the second one. It should just work. Otherwise, they're going to get, like, turned off by it.
Have you seen the changes that they've recently rolled out in reference to screen sharing? Because I'm puzzled. There's the way screen sharing has been improved in a manner that lets the person who is sharing their screen take up more of the presentation with their screen share, and also hide the thumbnails, which technically only the host can do. So that seems like it's a step in the right direction, but what it isn't is, and what I've been crying for about 6 or 8 months, is the ability to have the screen share without giving up your camera. So you have the screen share, but also put the camera view of the person who is talking into the image, and that requires 2 media streams, which is really kind of the optimal way of doing a screen share.
Yeah, we have to do that the hard way with our FreeSwitch conference by doing 2. But with Chrome, you kind of have to anyway because they don't let you send audio on a screen share session. So you kind of have no choice but to do a second stream. So
well, there's an applet that you can run if you're running Canary called Bubble Mirror. That's a Chrome extension. What it does is it grabs your camera and puts it in a little circle that you can move around the screen. So basically, you can screen share, drop Bubble Mirror on top of your slides.
Oh, okay.
And then the screen share basically conveys within the stream for the slides thing. And that's a perfectly acceptable solution. But you have to be running Canary to do it at the moment.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're talking, Michael. You're talking about the Tidy Bowl Man equivalent setup.
Yeah. Well, for example, you can't do this sort of thing in Chrome, right?
No, but that's
in fact,
typical setup that you have used with slides to show the presenter and the slides, right?
Right. And in fact, you can't even do. Hang on.
Which I call the Tidy Bowl Man from an old commercial about a little guy who.
Yeah, in the boat.
In the toilet.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't even do this sort of thing. You can't even do this sort of thing with Chrome, which is really, if you get, it's bad enough that people do death by PowerPoint, but if you are looking at somebody's 12-point PowerPoint slide as he reads out and elaborates on the 12 points, you're losing audience quickly.
Speaking of losing audience, we got James Bodie. No, so now we can start. Now we can start our discussion of Wire.
Now, can we do dangerous demos with Wire?
We already did it, and it was more than dangerous.
I had a dangerous domestic demo
Uh-oh.
going on here.
Okay, what you got?
But it's all kind of results. Anyway.
What happened, James?
It's to do with cars and wheels and tires and stuff like that you really don't want to do.
Sounds horribly tedious.
Very tedious. I'd much rather be in here with you guys.
Are you trying to tell us the wheels on the bus did not go around?
The wheels on the bus certainly did not go round, but they do now.
All right.
Amazing what you can do with a jack and a spare, isn't it, really?
Mm.
Have you been changing tyres or wheels?
Well, actually, no, I've just been supervising. Luckily, my dear darling daughter has a very talented and quite muscular boyfriend who is quite useful for things like this. So I did my normal thing and delegated the task and supervised. So, come on. I noticed that there's a new channel appeared in my Wire.
That was for the demo that's over.
Chaos Corner.
Yeah, demo that's over. We can delete that. Can you delete a channel, actually? That's a good question. I'm not sure you can. You can just only archive it.
Yeah.
So that's going to be like Google Gmail. You know, eventually it fills up with a bunch of gunk that you don't care about.
Filling up with gunk.
Yes.
We found out why my iPhone 6 Plus was crashing every time I started up Wire.
And?
And it's because I'm in so many groups. There's so much gunk gumming it up. And it was trying to download all of the back history, and it's just running out of memory.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I think there needs to be a delete thing or a leave. Well, you can leave a group, though, can't you? Yeah, I think you can. Or can you only archive?
I think you can. But anyway, as we've got all of the free switch team here, have you talked about what's going to happen at ClueCon yet? Because there's so much going on, so much exciting new stuff going in. Oh, have I missed that too?
Yes. Well, look, it's.
Well, don't worry, we never stop talking about ClueCon.
10 minutes to the end, James.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, everybody I say you've got to come to ClueCon, and you're like this. How would you like Oracle to be the sponsor?
We would like that.
That would be awesome.
Well, I think we may be able to arrange that.
Do you know we just got a confirmation from James Tagg, who's willing to come to ClueCon as well to talk about some new stuff you guys are doing.
Well, yeah, he wants to talk about the API.
Yeah.
Which,
I told him that we could involve it in our coder games if you have it working enough to actually make something with it.
yeah, and in fact, are we recording and broadcast?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Caution is advised.
Caution is advised. Well, we could possibly, if everything is ready with all the right bits of the API, be handing out True Phone Sims with the API for the coder games. So that means that with the API, you could end up being your own private mobile network operator with global reach. And that'd be pretty cool. And then there's all the stuff that you can do with the API, things like authentication as a service using the SIM card and the HSS to do the authentication for you. But I'd probably better stop there because just in case none of this ever happens, and then you'll be able to refer to the recording and say, "Oh, but JB said ...
But now you've got yourself an incentive to get it done on time. There's nothing like that.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right, Tony. I'm thinking that we always do our best work when we've got a fixed deadline, and there's nothing like ClueCon in August as a deadline to get us to work.
Yep. That's why we have it every year. It's our own natural deadline, so that we kind of repeat. Yeah. That's like our Super Bowl, and then we finish with that, and then we start over again. In the second year, we made our free TDM library in 1 month flat. We started from scratch and had a working TDM abstraction library done in time for ClueCon. So it's always kind of been like our excuse to get everything working. This year will be our 1.6 release.
And what's new in that?
All the video features. We have full video transcoding and MCU and improved WebRTC engine and other general stability.
Are you going to do a dangerous demo this year?
I don't know.
And one that looks dangerous. The problem with the one that you did last year was it just didn't look dangerous. It looked totally effortless.
So I tried to make it dangerous because I wasted all the time and only spent 30 seconds. So there's no chance. It's kind of like Houdini when he goes in the water and waits till the last minute. I just can't help it that it worked. I can try and do something that I just did yesterday, but it's not.
Well, did you see the thing?
We thought about maybe involving you. We'll have some kind of electric collar on you or something. We'll put you in danger.
that might be very bad.
It just doesn't go right.
The one that Matthew from Matrix did at Kama Elio World, because he came dashing in at the very last moment with this thing underneath a blanket. They took off a coat and it was a drone, and he then proceeded to flight round, almost decapitating poor old Dennis from Berlin. And
like drones indoors is definitely my idea of dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, and the normally mild mannered Matthew managed to swear, I think, 30 times in about 20 seconds as he was trying to get this thing to work, and it wasn't working, but then it was working, then it wasn't, then it did, and it was real. The adrenaline was pumping. Everybody in the room was going, yes, come on, and it worked amazingly, and it was a worthy winner. So that's the kind of excitement we want out of a dangerous demo. A demo that could work but may not, even if you have to play act it. But I know that's difficult for you, Tony, because you're just so cool. Anyway,
it's just hard to make. It makes it look too easy, but really, I don't know how much more dangerous you can get than killing everything and doing a full recovery. But it's hard to make that appear as dangerous as it is. Like only certain people that understood technically what was happening were able to appreciate the danger. So you have to. I don't know, maybe get some better lighting or something, or maybe some
I know.
Scarves and handkerchiefs and stuff.
Yeah, you need a few things exploding on stage, I think, Tony.
Or the Italian girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Or something to do with Ken's beard. Something like that.
Are you doing your rather dangerous demo this year, Ken?
Yes, Ken.
I have no clue.
Well, come on. We were all looking forward to something really exciting from you, and it just didn't materialize.
Ken's dangerous demo is called the production of the ClueCon.
And it
my
lit-
dangerous demo,
yeah.
my dangerous demo last year was getting microphones to work with rogue base stations all over the place.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was just about to say, your demo could involve a certain base station which looked like a small motorcycle engine.
Yeah, that was one of those moments. Like, we tested everything the night before, like triple and quadruple checked it all, and everything was fine. Then we get there that morning with that new base station sitting there powered up. Wasn't a good morning for us.
I got one of those. They sent me one of those. I have my own now, so I can run my own microphones if I want.
Oh, they actually sent you one.
Yeah, I've got one from both guys. They're the open, whatever their name is.
Okay. Well, you ought to do something with
The
that.
Russian guys and the
right?
other, the two different guys. Yeah, it was kind of weird that we had two different wireless base station people at the same time. Both decided they wanted to come last year, so that was kind of our theme.
Yeah, well, they're competing, aren't they? That's why.
Yeah, and now we have, I think, during ClueCon last year, we started trying to work on an SMS module that's actually about to show up in the next week or two.
Really?
not
Oh,
using,
we could do some really good, dangerous things with that, like attacking the voting system.
We would never do such a
I'll be
thing.
sure to top up my account before the dangerous demos.
Yeah. Well, a certain Mr. Kinch managed to get into the voting system in Berlin, and it was quite funny. There was this big block of votes that just kept on moving around. And there were people going, "Yeah, I won," and then all the votes would then go away.
He's given it away now, and I'm sure the same is true in the States. So I shall have to look this up for the stateside. But what he was actually doing was using numbers that have been allocated for dramatic purposes, so for television and film use, or radio programs, or whatever, where they give out phone numbers, or there's a phone number on the side of a van or whatever that is a real phone number, and you can phone it, but it won't route. So I'm increasing the security on that, and anything that doesn't route properly will fail to vote.
Yeah, so you do a hollow lookup or something.
Well, we can fix that too.
We have the technology.
Well, the problem is you probably do. So I think, Andy, we're going to have to go for a completely different ClueCon hack-proof voting system this year, or slightly more robust.
Yeah, it's called a show of hands, I think.
Yeah.
Now, you can ignore the extra hands we pass out in the goodie bag. We'll have those as well. You just strap them on.
It's a good time to move over to the mature audiences segment. What do you?
Oh yeah, of course we're still recording this, aren't we?
Oh, we are, but there's nothing embarrassing yet. But after this music, we'll pull the switch. And thanks to everybody who joined. Yeah, Wire. Well, there was a couple of minutes on Wire. See you next week. And
yeah, Alan Duric, next time, turn up.
Well, he did give warning, so I knew he wasn't coming. We'll talk to you later. Hey, that was the bleeding edge of the IP communications and VoIP community. We're at vuc.me on the web. Thanks to simwood.com, who can turn you as a developer into a telco. Our hosted PBX is provided by onsip.com. The site at vuc.me is on bluehost.com. We use zipdx.com for our wideband, full-featured conference bridge. And our local rate dial-ins are from voxphone.com. Every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time. See you next week.